Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and back to the woods of Idaho. Today we are out here with something from Turkey. This is the Canik. Actually, it's Turkish, it's pronounced Canik, but Canik is about as close as I'm going to get consistently. Not Canik, not Sanik, it's Canik, or Canik. This is the TP9SA. It's the single action version of the TP9 that has been on the market for a couple of years. Now, although the TP9 was also striker fired, it borrowed a lot from the Walther P99 basically, in that it is actually double action, single action. You can decock the striker and that first trigger pull will be longer and heavier than all the subsequent trigger pulls. Additionally, if you have a hard primer or something or another failure and the round doesn't go off, you can keep pulling that trigger and it'll keep striking it over and over and over. But once the slide cycles, it pre-cocks the striker and you're on a lighter trigger pull. The SA, on the other hand, is single action only. Like most striker fired guns, the slide has to cycle in order to reset it. If it doesn't, the trigger is dead. What that means, of course, is a consistent, light, short, crisp trigger pull, and the TP9SA has an excellent trigger. Actually, it's much better than a Glock. It's shorter, crisper, less gritty, very, very good. I don't want to talk about it here too much though. Let's go back into town to do the tabletop once over, and then we'll be in the woods again in a couple of minutes to do some shooting. It does feel good.
Alright, inside of the TP9SA case, which can be locked, we've got the owner's manual, of course, one magazine from Metgar, which I love because they make excellent magazines, and another one actually inserted in the pistol. They say they hold 18, but in reality they hold 17. There's a little speed loader, kind of like what you get with a Glock. There's an extra back strap. It's larger. The one that comes on the gun is a little bit smaller, so this one fills out the rear hump, and as you can see, it also goes up here where the web of your hand goes. The pistol comes in a Serpa style locking holster. That said, you're basically getting this holster for free, and in the top of the case, which I'm going to turn upside down so it's on camera, there's two attachments for your belt. This is a paddle style, so you can slip it on and off, and this one is made to thread through your belt. Lots of adjustments for cant and stuff, but again, it's cool that it comes in it. It's kind of nice for range use and fun, but it's not quality, it's kind of cheap stuff, but again, it's a freebie in the case, so it's nice to have it in case you want to throw it in a holster every now and then. Comes at the top with a cleaning brush and a cleaning rod for patches, so altogether for a $399 full MSRP gun that's regularly sold for $330 or $339, this is a heck of a lot of kit. Now, it was printing about 3 inches high for me very regularly. It actually comes with 2 extra sights included in the box and an Allen wrench and instructions on how to replace these sights. These are front sights, one's shorter, one's taller, and that will change your vertical point of impact. However, oddly enough, the sight in this gun is not attached with a little Allen set screw. It is pinned in, so it's not actually replaceable or easily replaceable. Now, as you can see on the rear, there's a little red dot, and that indicates that the striker is cocked. A lot of firearms like the HK VP9 and a bunch of others, XD, have that. What's really unique about the TP9SA is that it carries over this big decocker button from the TP9. Now, the TP9 works in a double action mode as well as single action mode, so when you decock that gun, you are left with a longer, heavier trigger pull that makes it safer for carry and other self-defense use. In this case, because the gun is single action, what you are left with is a completely dead trigger. In order to make it fireable again, you do have to rack the slide, although it should be noted that you only have to go about ½ an inch like that, and now we're reset. Now, I should say this decocker button has been a big point of contention and, a little bit of controversy, I guess, of the various reviewers who check it out. It makes basically no sense to have a decocker on a single action firearm, in that if you use it, you've got a dead gun. It's not functional. It won't help you in a self-defense situation because the trigger won't fire. It won't do anything. Now, obviously what Canik says is that, unlike a Glock, in order to disassemble this gun, you don't have to pull the trigger to deactivate the striker, which definitely makes it safer. I understand that from a lawyer perspective for sure. Gun manufacturers have been sued for less. So to take it apart, we're going to decock it like that instead of pulling the trigger, then pull down on the levers like you would on a Glock, and everything comes off the front. Now we're back in action. Now, to the guys who say this is a complete and total deal breaker for this pistol, I understand if you are very, very concerned with self-defense, and some folks say that a safety is a deal breaker for a self-defense gun. And sure enough, my preference is no manual safety. I think it's something you can forget to do or accidentally activate or whatever. I definitely get the minimal controls, but I also understand the people who prefer safety on a self-defense gun. That is a valid decision. In this case, the decocker is out of the way. I put hundreds and hundreds of rounds through this gun and never accidentally bumped it, and it actually takes about 10 pounds of pressure on either side, or 7 dead center in the top, to actually decock the gun. So I've got to push down with 10 pounds to make that happen. It is not easy. It's not going to happen accidentally. Some folks are saying it's not valid to just say, oh, well, don't use it when you're carrying it, but I think it is, because we say that about, magazine releases. If you've got the gun in a holster and you're carrying it, if you push the mag release, you drop the mag, and that's not a good thing to do. You can push up on a slide lock while you're firing and cause the gun to lock back and not function. There's a lot of ways to induce a malfunction. Yes, this is adding another one, but it doesn't have a safety, so it's subtracting that one. I mean, pick and choose your battles there, but in my opinion, it's out of the way. I think Canik was basically lazy. They didn't want to make a new casting, make a new mold to create a second slide for the SA when they already had this for the TP9. That's the only reason this huge decocker is here rather than a little button on the side like you see on the Breda Nano in the picture. However, do I think it's a deal breaker? No, definitely not. 10 pounds, you're not going to do it accidentally. It's nice and flush. It never got snagged on the holster. I just really see it as a complete non-issue. Don't press it if you expect your gun to be able to fire when you pull the trigger. Don't press your brake if you want to go. Don't press the gas pedal if you want to stop. Pretty easy stuff. Let's take a look at that trigger pull, since that is the moneymaker on the TP9SA here, and then we'll get back to the woods for some more shooting. As you can see, there's a Glock style safety blade on this trigger. And then all that is a bunch of pre-travel and slack. Definitely quite a bit of it. I think what you're doing there is clearing a firing pin block. Now that we're here, we are up against the sear, or the striker release, whatever you want to call it. Pulling. Just a couple millimeters of creep to a very clean break. And the reset. Nice audible and tactile click there, and then we can get right back onto it with only a millimeter of take up at that point. Another clean break. This is a runner-up to the HK VP9 and Walther PPQ, just a hair behind those guys. Not quite at their level, but really darn close. And at a super sale price of $300, this is a heck of a trigger. It is excellent for competition. Just so clean and crisp, puts a Glock to shame. For a striker-fired gun especially, I mean, really, it's fantastic.
Shooter, do you understand the course of fire?
Yes.
All right. Are you ready?
Yes.
Stand by!
So as you saw earlier, the Canik comes with a holster included in the box with a couple of different backing plates for attaching to your belt. It is a Serpa style holster with a button that must be depressed in order to release the gun. It is locked in there unless you put your finger on that button and release it. And just like the Serpa, it has that same potential safety issue where pushing on this can lead to popping right into the trigger guard with your trigger finger. It's actually very, very easy to do on this holster, even more so I think than a Serpa. It's hard to avoid putting your finger on the trigger as soon as it comes out of this holster. The locking button could be higher up over the slide, but it's down right in front of the trigger guard, and because it's an extended trigger guard, it falls right in there. And with a light short trigger, not the best. This little paddle would actually be easy to block or entirely disengage, and if I wanted to use this free holster that came with the gun, that's what I would do. Hey guys, as always, thank you for joining me out in the woods here. I have to say the Canik TP9SA is a hell of a shooter. For 300 bucks, you can find them $2.99 on like super sale. I think normal price is more like $3.50, $3.75, but it's a heck of a bargain for a competition or range gun. I mean, the trigger's amazing. It shoots very well. This one is printing about 4 inches high for me. But other than that, it is acceptably accurate for combat or competition style use. What you get in the box for that 300, 350 bucks is a pretty good deal too. 2 Mekgar magazines, which they make very, very high quality magazines. They hold 17 rounds and they feed and function flawlessly. The gun has also fed and functioned flawlessly for me. And this is a loaner. I borrowed this gun. It had a lot of rounds to it. The thing is beat up. You saw the coating on the inside is getting a little bit eaten away. I'd probably just stick with your standard black version, but it is still running great. I did not clean it. I did not lube it. I'm very impressed with the reliability and functionality of this gun in the price range. You know, maybe a year ago, I was checking out that Diamondback, the DBFS9, their full-size 9, and I thought it was really great for the price. It's definitely a cool looking gun, but the trigger, it doesn't hold a candle to this thing. I can shoot this gun much more quickly and accurately than that Diamondback, and I have had zero reliability issues whatsoever, and I don't think I ever would. This thing is just running, and it feels like it'll keep running and running. So if we're looking at a $300 recommendation for a polymer striker-fired gun to have fun with, this one is probably moved to the top of the list. And I know some guys freak out about this decocker. I understand the OCD thing with it. It's really freaking weird. It has no place in a single action only gun like this, but you know, it's not in the way. You don't have to use it. It takes a concerted effort to push. It's not going to happen accidentally. It doesn't really bother me in actual practice, although I understand mentally why it's weird. Now, would I rather have a VP9 or a PPQ? I would have to say yes, absolutely. HK and Walther are nicer brands than Canik, no offense. They are put together and finished a bit better. But to get into an HK or Walther, you're going to spend 250 or more bucks more than this Canik TP9SA. So, for the money, for your dollar, this is a lot of bang for the buck. Really, at any price, this is a very functional gun. Just doesn't have the fit and finish, not quite as accurate as some of those nicer brands. As always, thank you for joining me in the woods. Please like and subscribe if you would. Check out the link to thetruthaboutguns.com, T-tag in the video description below for the full write-up with photos and more information as usual, and hope to see you guys here next time.